Yeah, we'll start.
Okay. A very good morning to everyone, who all the participants who have joined us in the audit, especially respected Dean Sir Ajay Nandan Sir, respected SPDT Sir Suman Raj Sir, and other faculty members, uh, uh, probationers, young officers, and also senior officers who have joined online to watch this live session which we are organizing. And this lecture series is a part of the IRMI Annual Day lecture series, which had commenced on 14th of February. That was the IRSME day. We have already successfully conducted 4 lectures, and this is the 5th lecture in this lecture series. And today we are very privileged to have amongst us Shri Tanmay Mehta sir. Shri Tanmay Mehta sir is an IRSME officer of 86 batch, and currently he is posted as GM RFID Chris. Shri Tanmay Mehta sir has been posted in various positions over Indian Railways, especially in Northern Railways, and also he was posted as a senior professor at IRMI as well, and especially when we were undergoing our SCA-ship training and also probation training, sir was here. So we were guided under such tutorship during that period as well. And we are very fortunate and privileged to have sir amongst us today. And the topic for today's session would be RFID on Indian Railways. And so now I'd request respected Tanmay Mehta sir to take over and continue with his presentation, sir. Thank you, sir.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for having me here. Thank you, Ajay. And also a very warm welcome to a lot of people from the zonal railways who I see have joined in. Raghu is also here. He was also in IRMI. Shishir Dutt is here. He was also in IRMI. Lots of people from IRMI who are back here. So welcome, everybody. And thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about this particular area. It's something that I've been working on for some time. And I'd like to share whatever has happened out here with all of you. So we'll start off with a very simple question. Why RFID? What is RFID about? So just set a tone for what is going to happen. So the basic background behind this is that railways, basically, at least as far as mechanical department is concerned, has this requirement of handling assets. So we have a master for assets. We look after rolling stock out there. I hope the slides are coming up. Yep, they seem to be coming out nicely. Wonderful. And there are a lot of analysis that we are supposed to be doing about all of this. So something that binds all of them is data which is coming in automatically, which does not really require people to interact, and it's pretty accurate. So that's really what we are looking for: good quality data, lack of manual intervention, so the authenticity is maintained. Now, what is this data that we are talking about? What do we really want to know? So when the train is running, there is some information that we want to capture at any time when it is running. And this information is going to be captured off track, not on track or on the train, but off the track. So what you get is some information which is in the table out here. I hope the table is clear. Can somebody just confirm that it is visible? I assume it is. And
yes, sir, it's visible, sir.
Thank you. So I'll just run down any of the columns. I'll just take the extreme right column out here. So you can actually have a look at this particular column. So this one is what I'm talking about. So what we know is that the stock is a freight stock. We specifically know the differentiate between the left side and the right side. This is really, really important. So you'll see right, left. So we can get both the values. We know who is the owning railway. And if it is owned by a private party, we will know who is the owning private party. We know what is the type of that particular rolling stock. We know in which year it was manufactured, and we know its serial number. These items anyway form a part of the vehicle ID. What is new is this thing called side. This is something which was never uniquely defined earlier. Now it has been done. Two other quick points that I want to make out here is you'll see there are a lot of zeros appearing on the left side. Now this is because these fields are fixed width. So you have to add zeros on the left side. The zero means there is nothing out here. It's basically the equivalent of a blank. And the other thing is that for EMUs, this is the original how the EMU side plate is painted. The E of the EMU actually is here, and the rest of it without the slashes is here. So all rolling stock is accommodated out here. By default, the type is limited to 8 characters, but out here you will notice this is actually 9. So there is a limitation that is then put on the serial number, and that's how this thing works. So this is the basis of the information that is captured while on run. So we'll get 2 pieces of information from every rolling stock, one for the left side, one for the right side. And if there is a problem on the track side, he will actually come back, take this information. So let's say there is a hot axle and there's a hot hot box detector running out here. It'll come back and say SEC, BOBRN, HSM1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, left side, third axle, there's a problem. And now, irrespective of where it goes, even if the wagon is turned around, the left and right is always uniquely identified. This is really, really important because we didn't have this kind of definition earlier. And of course, please be very clear, it's applicable on all rolling stock that runs on Indian Railways, including privately owned stock. Okay, so now you've got the ID. What the heck are you going to do with the ID? The ID is neither here nor there. So there is a maintenance paradigm that we talk about. And that's there on the left side. It basically says that when you're doing maintenance, you need to know the what, why, where, and how. All of this is a part of the defining of what is the maintenance condition, what's the condition of a particular rolling stock. So what RFID does is that it actually works with wayside monitoring systems and actually plugs in the where and what, which is going to happen on the run. Right now, all our maintenance data is collected after the run. So we know things more in terms of the after effect rather than actually at the time it is happening. So on the tag, there is a bunch of data, and we'll talk about that. So vehicle ID we have talked about. We also store last vehicle ID. Later, there's a demo of the thing as a video, and I'll show you this part. So we'll just hang on to that for a second. So just remember that RFID really plugs into the what and the where part of it. The how is and the whys are the analysis that we are supposed to do. But this piece of information of what and where we will continuously be plugging in as the train moves. So it isn't that 30 दिन के बाद maintenance होगा तब हमें पता लगेगा. As the train is moving continuously, the information will keep on coming in. So the volume of information coming is huge. Now we talked about data on the tag, and I just stay with this key maintenance data which is on the tag and just show this how it actually works out there. So this is example of data on the tag. The upper string is what is actually stored on the tag. Don't worry about that. The interesting part is, and you just need to read this part out. So it says the name of the last major schedule was NPOH with special repairs. It was done on 1st of February 2020. The date of examination was 5th January 2021 at 21:52 hours. The examination was completed. It was maintained at Ambala, and the next due date for examination is 4th of February 2021. In other words, today, if you are reading this tag, the vehicle is overdue. This information is embedded directly into the tag. There's a lot other more information, but this is how the information is available on the tag. Now notice that all of this is in English. This is actually how it is stored. It's stored in English. Most of the tags that you will see, say in a mall or wherever, or even the fast track tag, just has a number on it. That number has no meaning. But in our case, whatever information is on the tag, it actually has a meaning and it has an implication and it works that way. So that's really, really important. So what are the key drivers for whatever work we are doing? The important thing is that we are interested in reliability. Most RFID case studies, examples that you'll hear anywhere across the world will talk about the fact that it is for track and trace. So in our case, we also do track and trace, but primarily the focus is on ensuring reliability. And as a part of reliability, it is not just the rolling stock, it is also the components. So the ecosystem which has been built, and we'll talk about that in the next slide, starts from the complete assembly, which is the coach or the wagon or the locomotive, and drills all the way down to the major assemblies. It's not sufficient to only know about the assembly from our side. We also need a lot of inputs from the vendor. For example, kab manufacture hua, manufacturing ke kya conditions the. So the part of the data ecosystem that has been created is that is not only the railways, it includes the vendors also inside it. So the family of people who are invested in the reliability of a rolling stock now extends to include vendors, whether it is the supplier vendor or it's a rehab vendor, whatever work he is doing, all of them are now included into it. It is not just the railways, it's everyone put together. As a part of this exercise, one thing was we created application interfaces, which allows other applications to talk to it. So in fact, RFID practically doesn't have a user interface. It actually plugs into the freight management system, FMM, or the coaching maintenance system, which is CMM. And through them, it also goes into, it will go into FOIS and a whole bunch of other places. These systems are railway-owned systems. We also have got standard methods of transferring data to vendor-based systems, for example, smart yards or trackside equipment or whatever. So we are using standards which are globally established for transferring data across applications, and within that, those are within the railways and outside the railways. The other things which we are really interested in is the fact that the system should run if there is no data connectivity, if there is no bijli nahi hai, mobile phone hai or reader hai to kaam ban jayega. This is again something pretty unique because most people don't look at this part. And last part I want to mention, because you will keep hearing about this in the news, that IoT systems are not secure. It's actually quite true. But in our case, we have ensured that any write and update which is being done on the system is locked securely with individual passwords. Just staying for a second with the technology elements, one very important thing, because everybody talks about fast track and says it doesn't work, so why should we believe RFID works? Now, be very clear, the technology stack that we have to use on the railways globally, this is a global standard, is not the same as what you use for, say, cars and on highways and toll plazas, or for inventory, which you will find being done in a lot of malls and big shops now. This is pretty unique. East of Europe, we are the first to actually implement the standard itself. There are countries who have implemented RFID. There is no doubt that Japan has done a great job, and so has China. But because of their language issues, they deviated from the global standards. We followed the global standards. So among the things other than the global standards which we layered on top of that were these practical considerations of network and power supply problem. Now be very clear on this part. An RFID tag used on the Indian Railway doesn't have a battery. It has no power supply, which means it has practically an infinite life. So tags for us are being looked at for having a life of around 20 years at least. Maybe more, but at least 20 years. And Overall, the solution has to handle the actual conditions that exist for us on the Indian Railways. So the temperatures that we talk about, people in Europe just shake their heads and say, no way. And we want to do all of this while being absolutely neutral across vendors. Europe is a classic example that it started on. I'm talking about railway. They all started, all the countries started off with multiple vendors. Shuru mein 5 the, 6 the, 4 the, whatever. And over a period of time, all of them have landed up into single vendor solutions only. And now that vendor starts playing truant. So they're having a lot of trouble because of that. So one of the feedback that I did get from the international community, and I'm talking about the railways, was that aim for vendor neutrality from day one, do not become vendor specific. Now, on the bottom right, you're going to see two things that look like QR codes. I'll just zoom into that so that you can see them a little bit more. Now, these are not QR codes, though they look the same. They are called data matrix code. What's so special about data matrix? Data matrix has a huge amount of error correction built into it. And the two data matrix, the one on the left is for railways internal components, which we have ourselves manufactured. And the one on the right is for components which have been manufactured by a particular vendor. In other words, they are purchased vendors. I'm not getting into the details. That's not really the point of this particular presentation. DPM, direct part marking, is a full topic in itself. So I'm not going to walk out there. But just know that using this system, the coding system which is being used on direct part marking and RFID is exactly the same. It's a seamless transition between both of them. Okay, so we've done all of this. What's the benefit that the railway should get as a whole? So we are talking about the data quality improving. Now the data quality improves for reliability and availability. Obviously, the reliability automatically helps. We get a clean set of masters. Right now, masters are a painful exercise. They're not easy to get. And even more importantly, while you can create a master on a particular date, they need to be continuously revalidated to ensure that the masters are correct. RFID is pretty unique that the validation is a continuous exercise and it will carry on without any problem over a period of time. It doesn't end. So that's the advantage out here. You also get a lot of information on rake composition while it is on the run and the holding at various places, yards, workshops, divisions, whatever. Because you have all this data and it's pretty accurate, you can do a lot of trend analysis on it. One of the biggest advantages of trackside equipment worldwide is not the data that comes from one equipment, but what is the trend of the same vehicle as it moves from one location to another and crosses a trackside equipment again and again. If the situation is becoming worse, it requires intervention. In quite a few cases, the situation doesn't become worse, it becomes bad and then becomes okay on its own. The fact was that we talked about the fact that power and all of that working is always a problem. Network connectivity in most freight yards is quite an exercise. So we wanted a situation that will that will work irrespective of everything. So that uninterrupted working is something that was a major benefit. Most of the solutions that exist right now don't get right down to the place where a person works. We wanted to go there. So if you want to do all of this, what's the core technology that goes into it? So we'll spend a little bit of time looking at RFID technology. We've talked about the fact that we have already implemented a whole bunch of standards. Now, GS1 is the standards organization for RFID and barcodes worldwide. So like you have ISO, and in India, you have Bureau of Indian Standards. GS1 is the standards organization worldwide. So we've implemented their standards. In addition to that, in terms of environmental conditions, we have adopted either the AAR standard or the EN equivalent standard for environmental conditions and the testing associated with that. And among other things, the interesting part is that our tags are already been tested for not only mild steel and stainless steel, but also for aluminum body. So in other words, if an aluminum bodied coach or a wagon is made, the tags will work fine along with them. Other things are pretty straightforward stuff. The working environment in terms of the geometry of heights and speeds and all of that are basic derivations of what railways is already doing. We didn't do all of this alone. So we obviously had GS1 India, who does all the technical vetting of whatever we do. So if I say something, if GS1 India says that, no, what you're saying is wrong, this is not as per the standard, we have to change. So everything that we do actually goes through them. And they are the people who actually say, okay, fine, you can go ahead and do this. This is within your competence to do. We work with other parties. Interestingly, as far as tag testing is concerned, we actually set up the whole industry for the entire country. We're the first people to do standard-based testing for tags in the country at all. And of course, we got a massive amount of support from the industry. The industry has been very, very kind to us. In terms of how RFID actually works, this is how it does. So what you're seeing on the right, this part is what is called an inlay inside a tag. This is what an inlay actually looks like. I took this photograph yesterday in the evening from on my table. So it has this whole Jingbang kind of a funny structure. So you'll see that structure sitting out here. This is just the antenna wala part. In this loop out here, you can't see it out here, but you can see it out here. There's a small black dot. So if you look at the sharp point of a normal pin, it's as small as that. And that's the actual chip. So how does it work? So you have, this is a device. There are lots of shapes of devices. This is just an example. That will send some energy out here. Now, this location is closer to this device. This location is far away from this device. So this gets more energy. This gets less energy. So there's a potential difference across this, and the current can flow through this. So this, most of this is silver or a high conductivity compound. So electricity, if it flows through this, it will flow through that little chip. Now that little chip is a little intelligent. It takes that energy and will encode the data back on that. So this first sends the energy, then it sends a request to the tag, send me the data which is on board with you. This tag, based on this energy, converts it back into a signal form which the reader can then recognize. It's as simple as that. The interesting part is no batteries. And this technology we specifically decided to use. You also get tags which have batteries, which have a lot of advantages. But our call was we don't want batteries. Battery badalne mein hi hamari band bach jayegi. If you have a look at this, this is about 8 centimeters long, not very big. And this is really the size that we are working with. So this is what goes inside what is seen, that there's a plastic casing which contains this. So just have a look at what we had done. This is the tag work. So this was the first 3D model which I made. You will notice it is actually an inverted V. We did some testing inverted V, se fayda nahi hua. So that we made, the first model was, the physical one that we made was this. This was too small, so we made a big one, not very good. This is the one which was first tested. So you can actually see this was on the, this tag was actually on the locomotive. And after the trials, we actually optimized the shape and we finally got this shape of the tag, which is the current shape. Partly, we also did the FES. I'll just quickly, without getting into any details, we'll just show you that it's all blue. The whole thing was designed so that the loads are comfortably and evenly distributed and there won't be any problem. So the FES shows that it's all perfectly okay. These tags, we bake them into an oven. So coaches are supposed to get baked for their painting. So we doubled the time for a coach and said that koi coach oven mein dal karke bhul karke chutti pe chala gaya tab ye tag chalna chahiye. And these tags were garnet blasted. So garnet blasting will actually can strip metal off. This is not sand blasted, this is garnet blasted. So we wanted to see that can they withstand garnet blasting, and which is the equivalent of sand abrasion, and they could. Pretty surprising. This is what, I'll just zoom in once again out here. This is an interesting thing. This is what is a cross section of that. It's technically is described a box within a box design. And we did that specifically. One was for the FEA part. You can see that part just above it. And the other one was that we wanted to have a double ceiling on the box. The actual inlay sits right on the top. This is the part which faces outwards. The inlay actually sits right on the top, just below this. This area is actually normally completely filled up with sealing material. So it's away from the body, and then this height from here, this the wagon body, coach body is here. And we'll show you those photographs. This height is also an optimized height. It has to be this height. It cannot be higher than that. It cannot be lower than that. So there's a whole background behind all of that. So as a part of this, we did a whole bunch of firsts on this whole things that we did. The interesting part was the price reduction. The international price given to us was about 5,000 bucks. As per our requirements, today's the price is 280 bucks. We have an unofficial world record to it. And a lot of things which are interesting is, and I really like to point out, is this particular line. Generally, when you're talking about, say, your phone and so on and so forth, every talks about gigs of 64 GB ka phone hai, 128 GB ka phone hai. So just working. So you have GB. Below GB, you have mega. So MB. Below MB, you have KB. Below KB, you have bits. I'm at that small level. So the database that we are using out here is just 3,772 bits. This is bits of information. That's 3 kilobits. That's about half a kilobyte. to be absolutely precise. So very small pieces of data is available, and still we are able to do it. The interesting thing is that a lot of our work has got appreciated worldwide, and now we are actually collaborators with a lot of people worldwide in implementing RFID technology. We are now the reference implementation, which means that we are the closest to the standard and are rated the highest. And yesterday, somebody was sitting with me in my room, a railway officer, and we got the calls for doing the con call with, say, France and Korea. Anyway, the photograph on the right is the actual photograph taken by me when we were doing the speed trial. So you see 182.7 kilometers per hour. And here is a little video of the same thing of one. This is actually the first trial that we actually did. And most of you should recognize the train. That's the particular video which you shot was actually about 170 kilometers per hour, 180. I was on the train. So this is the overall. So it works. This is the overall solution. I'm not going to get too much into details out here. There's a lot of stuff happening. I'm not going to get into this. This is more for us. Just telling you that information from the tag to the antenna through the fixed reader goes through a network, comes back to us, where we have to disassemble that information, check it for accuracies, and then we push it into whoever needs to use it. Okay. What do you see on the site? This is not a very accurate photograph. I'll show you a more accurate photograph. This is a photograph not from India, but it shows the elements that are being done internationally. So you have the reader antenna sitting out here, right in the center, right? So that's that little box in the center out here. That's the small reader antenna. You have two detectors out here called train presence detector, which detect when the train is coming and then when the train is leaving, assuming it's a left to right. And then you have some wayside equipment. This is a hotbox detector. There's a hanging part detector in the middle. There is an impact detector on the side, not white, but a different kind of impact detector. So there are a bunch of impact detector wayside equipment sitting out here. All of them plug into the reader antenna, and then the data goes. So what is the situation as far as us? These reader sites are going to be about 45 minutes train travel time from any maintenance point. So every line that comes into a particular maintenance point is going to get a fixed reader. And one fixed reader normally works for 2 lines. And each line gets 2 antennas. You can see one antenna out here. I'll show you the actual photograph on the railways, which actually show you all the antennas. 2 train detectors per track, and then there's network connectivity and so on and so forth, right? So let's have a look at what's a train presence detector, because not very, very clear out there. So it's basically a simple sensor which is clamped to the rail at the bottom, and it simply detects the passage of a flange on top of it. So that's the view along the length of the track. This is the view from the top. And in addition to that, this is actually what happens on a site. So you will see there's one antenna. This is facing this particular line. There's an antenna out here which is also facing this line. Behind this khamba, there's an antenna which is facing that line, and then there is an antenna facing. So each line gets 2 antennas which are facing each other. This is a fixed reader. It looks like this. Couple of interesting points, and I'll just show them to you. These are the 4 points in gold color are basically the points where the antennas get connected. These are the network connections. This is the power connection, the small one, and this big green and orange thing is a place where the train presence detectors get connected to. Another thing is this box, just zooming in out here. This is the complete equipment box which is associated with that. And so the top one is all the power supplies, and then there's a ventilation fan out here. There's a whole bunch of switch gears and safety devices out here. This is where you have all the data connections and so on and so forth. There is a display unit sitting on the outside, which you can see. And this is a fixed reader, which is actually was under installation and testing when this photograph was taken. So that's what's there at an installation. So when you do all of this, what do you actually get from it? You get information like this. 7709 is the license code for Indian Railways, which I have obtained for the entire Indian Railways. So this says that this particular coach, which is a power car for LHB, is owned by the Indian Railways. So the type of asset is coaching, so left side, right side, and the year of manufacture is 2003, and then there is a serial number. The owner railway is Western Railway. This is actually Mumbai Rajdhani's coach. This is the kind of information we had shown you, the structure of the information on to be captured on run, and this is actually the same information that you can see appearing in front of you, right? So this is what actually, this is a screen capture from the running data that comes in. So we've talked about the theory. Now let's talk about the practical part on how do you install, where do you install, and stuff like that. Right. So one of the interesting things is because we have the tags are different on the two sides of the rolling stock. We have to define a left and a right for all vehicles. This has been done. Drawings have been issued by RDSO for all wagon stock, and similarly by Coaching Directorate for LHP and ICF. Now, in wagons, for every individual wagon, the tag location is slightly different. So please look at the individual marking diagrams. For ICF and LHP courses, there are standard locations, and we'll come to that in the next slide. I'll just stay with the concept of the side. So in this particular structure, this is the DV, and the DV is the left side of a vehicle. Now, on locomotives, left and right are already defined, so we don't touch that. But for any vehicle where definitions are already not in place, the DV is left. Simple. So this is the left side of the rolling stock. This becomes the front, this is the right side, and this is the rear. As simple as that. So when you're talking about axle number 1, so axle number 1 is here because this is the front, then there's axle number 2, there's axle number 3, there's axle number 4. So all the coordinates for components are clearly defined. On any side of a vehicle, so this is left side, this is right side, this hashed part is the place where you can fit a tag. You can't fit it on the other side. So this is really important. So all the drawings that are there are like that. The other part is that if you have seen the, if any of you have actually seen it in the field, and I'll show you a couple of photographs down. We had seen those photographs earlier. The tag has one face of the tag is sloped. On wagons, the sloped face is upwards. So the slope face is on the top and the flat face is on the bottom. On coaching, it is reversed, and there's a reason for it. So just remember, sloping surface of the tag is upwards for wagons and downwards for coaches. That's the only important thing that you need to remember. So this is for coaches. So that's the LHP coach, and this is the original drawing where we had actually done the analysis on how it should be faced and so on and so forth. I'm not very certain if this part is very clear, so I'll just bring it up. This is from the RCF drawings on coaches. So this is the yaw damper bracket. Right in the center of the yaw damper bracket is the tag. Fine. As simple as that. Nothing really great. This is for LHP coaches. And for ICF coaches, it's in the doorway. It's out here. This is what it looks. And again, the slope is downwards. The location out here of the tag has been carefully checked. And I haven't put the video out here, but we actually had about 30-40 people climb up the stairs to see if kisi ka pair se lagta to nahi hai, isko thokar to nahi lagegi, and all of that exercise has been done. So in ICF, it's in the doorway. There's absolutely no problem. It works quite nicely. Some photographs again of fitted. This is a repeat photograph, but that's it on the wagon. That's the ICF coach. I'll just talk a little bit about this fellow in the middle. This is an interesting tag. This is one of the oldest tags we have fitted. What is not interesting is where it is fitted. This is on the lowest point of an LHP bogie. So you'll notice this is actually the puttery out here, and this is maybe less than a foot away from the ballast. The idea was that the ballast would hit this and it will get damaged, and we'll figure out how do tags get damaged. 3 साल हो गए यार, इसमें खरोच तो आई नहीं अभी तक. Body वाले tags पे खरोच आ गई है. तो this tags we have found damaged. Normally because there's a vendor जिसने यहाँ पर वो चाय बना रहा है, उसने अपना वो अंगीठी इसके साथ दबा दी है, तो there's a tendency of slight melting that happens. It doesn't damage, it still remains functional, but there's slight melting. It has a very high temperature. The other part is you'll notice out here, and I'll just zoom in for a second on this, is that there is no rivet. It hasn't been riveted. This has actually been stuck using adhesive tape. We were thinking that it'll get trashed, it'll get hit by a brick or by a patthar and it'll drop off. Yaar, abhi tak ye to chal raha hai. The interesting part is that we have also tried adhesive tapes on the body of LHP coaches, and they didn't last. Most probably when you're cleaning the coaches, the cleaning compound simply destroyed the adhesive tape. So that's why we actually had to shift over to riveting as a method. So let's have a quick look at what is riveting. And there's a short video on how riveting is done. So the holes have already been drilled. You can actually see the Yep. So you will see the actual process of riveting just takes a couple of seconds. Drill the hole, position the damn thing. This machine is there. Katak se wo karke kar deta hai, and you get a clean rivet. There is no effort really required in the riveting part. So this is a simple example of the tag fixation. How do you use a tag? So we had talked about portable readers. So have a look at some 4 generations of portable readers. The oldest one is the one on the left, which was the first one that we had actually tried. But when we had talked to the staff and we actually showed them the first and the second generation, they simply said that left wala to hame chahiye nahi, bahut bada hai and bahut mehenga bhi tha. So we threw away the left one and then we moved to the second one from the left. That's this particular one which is being held with a mobile phone side, this one. It's a really small piece of thing, works quite nicely, very comfortable for staff. The only catch is that it really can't be used outdoors. It's an indoor one, it has no ceiling. So we then moved on to the next one, which is this one. This is the one which is currently in use. This can be strapped to the wrist as it is shown. It has excellent range, absolutely no problem whatsoever. Runs very, very nicely. So this is the current generation, which is right now in which is being used. This is one is under testing. As you see, it is strapped to the back of your wrist. It is really, really small. बहुत छोटा सा है. And interesting part also is, if you can see it out here, there is a kind of a camera and a light available, so it can also read barcodes. This one only does RFID. This one does barcodes for direct part marking as well as RFID both. And you can just strap it to the back of your wrist. This the strap out here is pretty complicated, but you can actually do it. This is the back of your palm. You can also do it on your wrist, and it's equally comfortable to use. It's really small, has the same performance characteristics as the other one. So this is what one's under testing. We'll take a look at it. The problem is that between this and this, the cost is 3x. This is 3x the cost. So let's see what we can do about it down the line. But yeah, 4 generations of it that we have already tested. Generation 3 is currently running and is up and running. Okay, so this is what a portable reader looks like. Now, how do you use the portable reader? Because obviously, none of the portable readers, this one has a small LCD display, but none of these actually have a user interface where you can actually read out data. So the data is on your mobile phone and the reader talks to your mobile phone. So here is a short video of a tag being initialized. The initialization is done only at the time of manufacture. Ek bar, when you first time you are entering data in the tag, it takes more time. This is the full process from starting the app on the mobile phone till the data is written. I would suggest anybody just time how much time it takes, because it's very fascinating how quickly does the actual activity happen. And Ajay would remember that one of the points that we had done a discussion on is how do we reduce the time it takes, because if it takes a lot of time, then staff to kar hi nahi payega. So have a look. This is the maximum amount of time it can take. There is no sound on this video. So the mobile phone connects to the portable reader. So that's a connection. What is being clicked out here is initialization. So now data is going to be entered. I do not know if you can see all of that data which is being entered. The video is very clear, but otherwise go ahead. So year of manufacture, type of the wagon, what was the wagon serial number, and obviously you can see in real life people will make typing mistakes. So this is very similar to real life. This was done yesterday, so you'll see it is assuming that the wagon was manufactured yesterday. This is interesting. There is something called PL number, assembly number, and serial number. These are not used for the complete rolling stock, but for bogies and so on and so forth. When that tagging event comes, we have built that feature already into place. This last thing is really interesting. What it says is that if there is a particular rolling stock and there is some item on trial, वो wagon सामने खड़ी हो जाती है, and okay, see, you can see the data has been written immediately on completion. So a wagon comes and stands in front of you. It has an item on trial, and you have no idea what to do with it. So all that is done is that inside the RFID tag there is place for keeping 3 mobile numbers. that you can contact any of these mobile numbers if there is a wagon and you don't know what's going on. It could be a wagon, could be a coach. So you could have a coach which has, say, a new kind of a window design, and you want to figure out who to talk to. So the numbers are available on the RFID tag, and you can talk to them. So this was the complete process of writing a tag from beginning to end, right? Now that is that's the longest time, because after this you'll only update the data. So this is the longest period, and you can see it's, and we have timed it. It takes about 2 to 3 seconds, somewhere between 2 to 3 seconds to actually write a full tag. Sorry. Now we talk about reading the data on the tag. Very similar video. And just watch the video, and then we'll talk a little bit about the video. So again, app has been started. It connects to the reader. You clicked on read all, the niche wala, hare mein jo hai. Now it's reading all the tag data, right? And now it's going to display all the tag data. So it says that what's the current wagon ID? It's a BCNA M1. You will notice that the vehicle had been changed. In the red, you will notice vehicle type BCNA at the bottom, right? It also talks about when was it rebuilt. It wasn't rebuilt. It did get a POH in 2016 in Samastipur, and it then got an ROH at GOC. GOC does ROH. Okay, I don't know that. Last schedule was done on 28th of January at Bhatinda. The next schedule, and this is really important, is on 26th of February, and the next schedule is POH. And this information is available on the tag itself. And in the end, you will see how many items are on a trial, and actually has a mobile number, so you can actually ring up any of the mobile numbers and contact the people. So this is how you would actually be doing it in the field. Initialization is only done, the previous one is only done at manufacturing, and the first time the tag is fitted on a rolling stock. After that, in the lifetime, you don't do initialization at any time. You normally will only be updating the data. The updating data does not have a user interface at all. Reading the data, obviously, I can show you the data, so that's what I have done. But you normally don't need to read the data and manually see it unless there is a specific requirement. Again, the interesting part is this data is coming directly from the tag. There is no backend connectivity required. You can be anywhere without network connectivity. As long as you have a mobile phone and a portable reader, you can read the data on the tag, and you'll get all of this information that is there. This information is authenticated. None of this information is touched manually once it has been initialized. The initialization mein manual kaam hota hai, uske baad none of the information is manually being touched. For example, the fact that the next schedule is POH is not something that is being entered by the staff in the field, because they have no clue. This is information which is pushed into the tag automatically from the backend ki iska POH aa raha hai. Logically, the next schedule POH ho jana chahiye, to ye POH ke liye isne kar diya, right? So that's how the portable tags work. Sorry. Okay, so let's get into some of the nitty-gritty in terms of what is the actual project. This was the basic technology, the utility, how the implementation of that technology, and now we're just going to talk a little bit about the actual project. So, okay, somebody's phone is ringing. Raghuji, aapka phone ring kar raha hai. Chalo, doesn't matter. So here's the project. The project was already sanctioned for the traffic department and was with them. They were not very eager to have it move for a long time. Then got transferred to mechanical by board in August of 2018. I have to give a lot of credit to some people, and I'm going to stand out and say it. CME Northern at that time, Mr. Arora. EDME Freight at that time is Ajay Nandan, who's out there. EDME Development, we had a couple of them, but Mayank was the person who did most of the work. If it wasn't for these three people, this project would have been dead by now. They allowed me to do a lot of work, so thanks to all of them. I never got a chance to thank all of them, so here it goes. And also to board last year, because we are not getting funds through traffic department. They're still not very happy in giving us funds. So adjunct works was sanctioned last year under RSP, so we can get funds now from RSP, because otherwise it isn't there. So there are actually now 3 sanctions available. If you think this was a very big team at work in Chris, as you can see, just one officer, me, an SSC, and 2 outsourced people for running around were available. Recently, we've added 2 officers. The team has been very, very small. We hadn't too many funds, so we just managed to get things across. Just putting in context, what are all the sanctions and what work is to be done where. All of them are running in parallel right now. The old project is the computerization head project. So you'll see that it's primarily a technology development sanction which covered almost everything. And two sanctions which have happened last year is the fixed reader sanction and the tag-in infrastructure sanction. These are running right now. So I'll just move on to where are we on these. So where are we right now? So in terms of sanctions, for RFID tags, the total number of sanctions available is for 3.25 lakh Guardian, which should cover just about everything that we have. Most of the initial work has all been completed. We have already done wagons and coaches. We're heading into EMUs. That study has been done and we'll be taking that. Vendor development has been completed. So everything is done out here. For portable readers, there are 6,900 which we have to get. We have done the technology development, as you've seen, generation 1, generation 2, generation 3. Vendor development is an ongoing exercise. The reason why I'm saying it is ongoing is because right now there has been a lot of restrictions on working with certain countries. Unfortunately, that has affected us very, very badly because a lot of work that had been completed now needs to be redone. The reason why we have had to go to generation 4 is this is one of the driving reasons. So, so abhi ho gaya hai, wo to fine hai, but we need to do more work to get more vendors onboarded and make certain they align. So that work is going on. Fixed readers, we are supposed to get about 2,800 numbers of them. The vendor development out here is actually an ongoing exercise. Interestingly, when we had started this project, we were told tags are most complicated and the readers are the easiest thing of them. And it turns out exactly the opposite. The tags were easy to do. It took time, but they were easy. Fixed readers are giving us massive trouble because all the OEMs are international. There was an ongoing trial which was pre-COVID, and then during COVID, that site went for a shot. So we're, as of yesterday evening, next week, the trial site again reopens, and they will see what we can get out there. Again, from which country the products are coming is also hitting us badly out there. So this work is an ongoing work. It has taken a fair amount of time. It will take some time. And against this, what has been done? Wagon tagging, 37,000. Coach tagging, more than 3,200. Portable readers, the tender has already been issued. Fixed readers, the tender is under issue. In terms of some work, KOFMA has done a fantastic job. A lot of credit to the team out there. Vikas Purwar is the person right now out there. 3 orders are in place. The details are here. So, yeah, about 225 wagons, 225,000 wagons are going to get tagged. For coaching phase work, this is the tender which is out right now. Please note these are cities. So when we say Kolkata, it means Eastern, Southeastern, all depot. If I say Mumbai, it means Central, Western, all depots. So it is by city because vendors will see a city, they're not going to see a zonal railways. So this is about something like 25,000 wagons will come up in phase 1, and then we'll, sorry, coaches, not wagons, and then we'll do the rest. In terms of trackside locations, we have already talked a lot about this. The major change which has happened between pre and post COVID is this cost. This cost has practically doubled. And that is again going to be a bit of a damper because of various restrictions which have now come in during the COVID period. Okay, just be clear on also on one other thing. Whenever train passes a reader, the information will be sent to the next maintenance point, assuming it is 45 minutes away or so. And this will happen whether the train is going to stop there or not, because sometimes it happens that there will be messages for, say, a hot box or a wheel flat or something. So maybe the train is not going to be stopped and we want to stop a train for whatever reason. So the information is always going to be fed. If the train doesn't stop, the information will be removed from the phones automatically. So nothing much has to be done out there. Okay, fixed readers, as I said, till last year, basically the COVID period, we had got one vendor, we had tested 4. We got one product which was more or less clear, though we couldn't complete the testing. The big issue with fixed readers has turned out to be getting OEMs to fix their products is a very painful exercise. पहले तो 2-3 महीने वो कहते हैं कि साहब आपको पता क्या है, आप कुछ नहीं आता है, they simply refuse to accept the bug report. Then after that they will, and we'll tell them how to replicate it and all of that. Then they'll test it, and 2 months later they'll come back, sir, we agree with your bug report, now we're going to fix it. And then they'll take another 2-3 months to fix it. So a 6 to a 9 month bug fix cycle is what is really happening with all of these. Initially, it was longer. Now it is much shorter because there is a certain amount of international traction with what we are doing. and each product has multiple bugs. So the worst case scenario is 5, the best case scenario is 2. 2 bugs normally would mean that it takes 1 year for the reader to become functional before we can actually do the proper testing. So fixed readers, which was supposed to be an easy thing, turns out to be a very, very difficult thing actually. But in any case, even with one OEM on a PAC basis, I will be doing these 19 reader sites with 12 tentative stations. The list is in front of it. So Sanat Nagar, Tughlakabad, Aditapur, which is also a GPWI site, Paradeep, also a GPWI site, NJP, Smart Yard, Madar, Rangya, Mathura, Rewari, Brijwasan, Mumbai, and Vadodara. These two are for Mumbai Rajdhani primarily. So these are the sites which are upcoming for basically the fixed readers extended field trial. This is going to be interesting, but the only catch is that we'll have one vendor. We need more than one vendor. So the basic principles of vendor neutrality is actually in trouble, and we'll have some issues with that. So we'll see. We have 2 more vendors who are wanting to join in. So let's see what happens with them. I do not know. Yeah, so a whole bunch of discussion on RFID. What's beyond that? Okay, just one thing. I'm just going to show you one slide. I'm not going to do any discussion. Ajay told me it's a long discussion, so don't discuss it. So that's my last slide coming up right now. And that is this wonderful thing called direct part marking. We talked a little bit about it. So just staying on this, you can start from really small ones on piston rings to cast components to plastics to machined and finished components. This screw is, by the way, a titanium screw which is used in medical purposes for haddi jab toot jati hai, but the rest of them are all parts which are used in the automotive sector, automotive industrial sector. So this is coming up. So you will notice all the interesting part of DM codes is that they have these 2 lines. Let me see if I can zoom into it. Yeah, I think I can. So this is a DM code. It has a line here. Hang on. Whoop. Okay, if I want to use a pointer, I can't use zoom. Okay, so 2 lines, this is what it defines it, and then there is a certain interesting part, and this is why it is done on all industrial components, is error correction. You can lose up to 1/3 of the DM code and it'll still work. So they'll actually last long. What has happened in the trials that were done with MCF and also at Pune was that while the component marking, etc., happened, and when they were new, there was no problem in reading the components. But after 6 months, the marks started fading because of rusting and so on and so forth. So we need to really take a good hard look at where to put the marks and how do we protect the marks from rusting, or do we have to use an inlay? There is a whole bunch of things to be done. In terms of the sizes and the drawings, they have already been issued by RCF and MCF. But they have not been implemented. I have actually asked them both to hold it until we can find a method to ensure that the marks can last for the lifetime of the component. So if there's a component which has, say, a lifetime of 6 years, then the mark should last for at least 9 to 10 years. So we can guarantee that 6 years may the mark is still visible with certain amount of damages. So that's an exercise which is upcoming, which has yet to be done. It's a work in progress. So we, while we completed it, I am the person who has said we need to slow down a little bit on this to ensure that the markings don't disappear. That was quite disappointing. So this is something that's going to come. So that's the future. And that will now allow the complete panoply of individual assemblies, individual components, and the complete rolling stock to be linked together at any time without any problem whatsoever. And that's about it from my side. So thank you very much. I have the standard Takia Kalam of mine. Let's make it happen and let's make IT happen. Thank you so very much for listening to me. I hope I was able to give you some information. Ajay had asked me to leave some time for Q&A. So I'll just turn the share off right now and it's over to you guys out there.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your wonderful lecture, sir. Now I will request the participants who have joined us online as well as who are present physically in the auditorium to raise their queries or any questions which they have regarding this presentation, sir. Thank you.
नमस्कार सर, रघु बोल रहा हूँ.
क्या हाल है यार? नाइस टू सी यू।
बस बढ़िया सर, मैं आपको भी देख के मजा आ जाता है, 2 बार हम इसी तरह मिल चुके सर आपने बहुत इसमें डिटेल में काफी सारी चीजें बताई। मेरा सिर्फ एक ऑब्जर्वेशन है कि वो जो हम रोड साइड वाला सिस्टम लगा रहे हैं ना, रीडर, उसकी स्टडीनेस क्या है, और मतलब उसके क्या चांसेस हैं कि वो डैमेज हो जाए ड्यूरिंग द ट्रैक मेंटेनेंस वर्क और सो।
हाँ, क्योंकि रीडर तो ट्रैक के साथ रखता ही नहीं है। वो जो नॉर्मल इक्विपमेंट बॉक्स जो ट्रैक साइड वाला है उसके अंदर रहता है। दैट बॉक्स इज एक्चुअली वेरी वेरी स्मॉल। तो रीडर को तो कुछ नहीं होता है। द ओनली थिंग दैट वी हैव सीन, बिकॉज वी हैव टेस्टेड दिस इक्विपमेंट फॉर नाउ मोर देन 1.5 2 years ऑलमोस्ट, इज दैट जो ट्रेन प्रेजेंस डिटेक्टर होता है वो तोड़ देते हैं जब वो ट्रैक मेंटेनेंस करते हैं। और ट्रैक मेंटेनेंस इक्विपमेंट जो ऑटोमेटेड चला देते हैं उसमें वो टीपीडी को तोड़ देते हैं। टीपीडी इज रीजनली एक्सपेंसिव। ईच टीपीडी इज अबाउट $25,000। तो दैट इज द थिंग। दिस इज डिस्पाइट द पीपल बीइंग इन्फॉर्म्ड। वहां का ऑब्वियसली स्टाफ को पता है, बट हाँ, दिस इश्यू ऑफ टीपीडी इज अ प्रॉब्लम। वी हैवंट हैड एनी प्रॉब्लम व्हाटसएवर विद रिगार्ड्स टू एंटीनाज, यदि बारिश हो या कुछ भी हो, बिकॉज एंटीनाज एंड ऑल द अदर इक्विपमेंट इज IP67 रेटेड। तो उसमें तो कोई दिक्कत आती ही नहीं है। टीपीडी टूटे हैं जरूर, 2 बार हमारे साथ ये हो चुका है दैट डिस्पाइट अ वार्निंग बीइंग गिवन टू द ट्रैक मेंटेनेंस स्टाफ, टीपीडीज के ऊपर उन्होंने चला दिया। दिस इज अ प्रॉब्लम व्हिच हैज हैपेंड फॉर ऑल, इवन द अदर ओरिजिनल। तुम्हें याद होगा आरडीएसओ वाले जो टेस्ट साइट से, उनके साथ भी यही दिक्कत हुई कि उसके ऊपर चला दिया।
जी हाँ।
तो दैट प्रॉब्लम जो तुमने भी झेला और मैंने भी झेला है।
नहीं तो इसमें मेरा जस्ट ये था कि मतलब इंस्टेड ऑफ पुटिंग एट द सोल बार, क्योंकि अपनी जो सोल बार रहती है ना, सोल बार में भी कई बार करोजन वरोजन आता है, तो उसको लाइफ लॉन्ग तो नहीं हो पाती सोल बार, क्योंकि चाहे वो कोच हो चाहे वैगन हो, सोल बार इज टू बी चेंज। तो इंस्टेड ऑफ पुटिंग ऑन सोल बार, if we can put on some say मतलब either on roof or somewhere else, and we can read through the, ये जो अपना फुट ओवर ब्रिज है ना, फुट ओवर ब्रिज पे अपना रीडर लगा दें तो वो खराब होने की चांसेस कम रहेंगे।
हाँ, तो there are two things out here.
Because अभी इन्होंने फुट ओवर ब्रिज मैंडेटरी कर दिया हर स्टेशन पर।
करेक्ट। दिक्कत की बात ये है कि जो फुट ओवर ब्रिज है वो स्टेशन पे है और ब्लॉक सेक्शन में नहीं है। ब्लॉक सेक्शन won't get it. Normally, RFID is only put at block section because track side maintenance equipment is all in the block section, not in the station. So a call very early was taken that should we be looking at, for example, foot over bridges. उसके अलावा भी there are lots of structure, for example, cabin होता है। ऐसे बहुत सारी जगह हैं जहाँ पर हम कुछ कर सकते थे। But since it was supposed to be in the block section, the decision taken was कि we assume that nothing is available out there. So it had to be kept a little low. The other part is, and I did not mention it, but it's a good question which needs to be pointed out, कि जो let's say a container wagon or anything is moving, they also have RFID tags on them. The item that they are carrying, let us say it is Ludhiana से थोक के भाव ये वोलन होजरी चलती है, every sweater has an RFID tag on it. If you are reading from the top, you will read all of them, and there's a serious problem that happens at that speed. At that speed, reading is very, very difficult. So there were two things which have been done out here. One is there is an international standard which distinguishes a tag for railway purposes and a tag which is used for general purposes. So we have applied that filter that our readers will only read the railway wale tags and no other tag. ये पहली तो बात ये। दूसरी बात ये था कि मान लीजिए सोल बार खराब हो जाता है, क्योंकि वो होता है, we all know कि होता है। In that case, what do? Cut the soul bar, throw away the tag, fit a new tag, and चलो काम हो जाओ। यार 280 रुपए का है यार, फेंकने में कोई दिक्कत नहीं। I mean honestly यार, यदि 5,000 का होता तो I would think very carefully what do we have to do? At 280 rupees यार, it is less than the cost of paint on the soul bar.
Correct. ठीक है। Thank you sir, thank you.
Welcome. अरे हाय, क्या हाल है विकास? Nice to see you.
नंदन, अजय नंदन।
विकास तेरी आवाज नहीं आ रही है यार।
This is Ajay Nandan speaking.
हाँ अजय।
Sir, Ajay Nandan, yes.
Sir, I just wanted to ask one more thing to clarify it. All the automobile manufacturers as well as FASTag, they are using RFID tags in huge numbers on automobiles. could you explain to us why the same automobile RFID tags were not decided to be used on railway applications?
सर कितनी स्पीड पर सर?
Thanks for asking that question. Only yesterday I was asked if there has been some major issue with fast track, and what is my comment on that, and I had no comment to make on fast track. Okay. When we talk about the design of the tag, fast track tags have to be put on glass. They cannot be put on metal. Very, very important difference is, and usko yadi fast track ke tag ko aap metal pe laga denge, you cannot read it. So one very, very important difference was we had to only work with metal bodies. So if you remember, I said we tested it for stainless steel, we tested it for normal cotton steel, and we have also tested it for aluminium. That was a very, very important requirement कि हमारे यहाँ body में केवल metal है. So the tag design had to change. That is number one. B is fast tags की जो reading हो रही है as far as e-tolling is concerned is from the top of the जब आप वो gate के through जाते हैं, there's a bar on top. It is actually reading downwards because it has to read the windscreen. Now any of you who has had fast track and has tried to go through an e-tolling, I have had this issue. I'm certain a lot of you will be able to confirm it. यार वो नहीं पढ़ता है. वो जाकर मेरे साथ तो ये हुआ कि साहब गाड़ी आप पीछे करिए, आगे करिए, रुके रहिए, फिर फाइनली ये सेट कि साहब मैं हैंडहेल्ड ला रहा हूँ, and he put stuck it on my windscreen and read it. That is not a workable solution for us. यार हम ट्रेन को ब्लॉक सेक्शन में आगे पीछे नहीं करने वाले. So one thing we were very clear on is we wanted guaranteed reads. Very, very important issue that we must have reads which are absolutely consistent, which are absolutely clear, and there are no errors in that read. So a whole lot of work had to be done into guaranteeing reliability. 100% reliability was what we are looking at, and we used some very high standards which the vendors are very unhappy with me, but I am standing by those standards. So this was the second part, was guaranteed read at speeds which cars don't travel. Interestingly, in the early days when I had to do testing of RFID tags, we cannot simulate 160, 180 very easily. We actually put the tags on one गाड़ी and we put the reader and antenna on another car, and वो दिल्ली जयपुर हाईवे में दोनों को 80 किलोमीटर की स्पीड पे आमने सामने दौड़ाया था ताकि we got a combined speed of 160 kilometers per hour for our initial testing. So that is how we did our initial testing on RFID tags. So the speeds that we are looking at are commonly double, triple, quadruple of what cars are looking at. Rather than looking at fast track, another better example possibly would be to look at the work which has been done by DMIDC, the Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. They have a much better performance results compared to fast track. The only catch with DMIDC is that it is completely proprietary to a company, NEC. And they have only used proprietary protocols, and they're not willing to do any open standard at all. Now that becomes a problem for us. So we had also studied DMIDC as a good example. DMIDC is one of the award-winning implementations of RFID in the country. So yes, that is another thing that we had studied. After we looked at all of that, I had gone down to IHMCL. IHMCL is the company behind RFID on cars, and sat down with them very comfortably in a closed door कि यार तुम लोगों के साथ पंगे हुए क्या? तुम हमें बताओ तुमने क्या गलतियां की और मैं क्या करूं ताकि वो गलती ना हो. I am not going to get into a lot of those details, but I will just make a couple of quick points out here. And one of the most important points they made was कि साहब आप franchisee model पे मत जाइएगा, standards and specifications and their validation पे जाइएगा, नहीं तो आप मर जाएंगे. In their case, there are no standards literally for the fast track tags. उनको बस दिया है कि यार एक टैग होना चाहिए, ये डेटा होना चाहिए, अब जो टैग बनाना है, जैसे बनाना है, जो करो. So as a result, those tags are driven only by cost, not by performance. And that was the advice that IHMCL gave to us. And one of the reasons why we have done that, of being very, very standards and validation of standards based, is just this. So three major differences from what has been done on cars. First one was glass back versus metal back. Second one was guaranteed reads at 160 kilometers plus 160 plus kilometers per hour. And the third one was being vendor neutral and not having a situation where vendors are dictating all the terms and we are running after them trying to get things sorted out. Vikas can talk a little bit about it in a separate area, but yeah, it's a major issue. So we have actually sorted out these three problems, but it has been a very, very difficult journey. And thank you, Ajay, for asking that question.
Sir, I have a question.
Vikas.
What is the impact of heavy rains on the reading by a fixed reader or by a portable reader? In case of heavy rains, does the efficiency deteriorate?
Okay, so in general, RFID is sensitive to water. So inherently, if you are talking about is there a deterioration in absolute terms, you are absolutely right. There is a deterioration. Is that deterioration enough to cause us problems? No. So this is one of the factors which has been factored into our standards for quality of reads. So just by the way, the day we were actually doing this Talgo wale jo trial say was the day when Mathura got flooded. I have actually gone through Mathura in hip high water because hum to pahunch hi nahi paye. Itna pani gira. It was a bad day. And that is the day we did the trials on at 160 kilometers per hour on Talgo. So I know exactly what happens out there, and we actually have the details, technical details are available with us at what is the deterioration. So the standard that we had done, the size of the tag, which I had shown in the slides, the reason why they were changed, in fact, we reduced the length and breadth of the tag, but increased the height, was exactly the reason that you mentioned. And this has been already folded into the design as a part of the design. So it's a damn good question, and you're absolutely right. Water does affect the performance of the tags, but we have already folded that into our design. It has already been taken into consideration. As far as portable readers are concerned, the issue is slightly different because portable reader में आप थोड़ा आगे पीछे कर सकते हैं, वो हाथ में है. तो the problem in portable readers has nothing to do with rain. In fact, it's a very peculiar problem. The portable reader में the problem is the train standing behind you. Okay. So you are firing a signal to the tag in front of you, but it bounces off the metal side of the coach in front of you, goes behind you and reads the tag behind you. Now, you don't want to read the tag behind you, and there's nothing I can do to stop it. The only way you do is you actually start lowering the power of the antenna on the portable reader so that the signal doesn't bounce off. So if you remember, and we have done this discussion, why we put a limit on the distance of read. It just don't read more than this distance. Was exactly this. Now, obviously, we have pulled down the power. We have brought down the sensitivity level, which means it is going to be more affected by rains than anybody else. Fixed readers are not going to be affected much. Portable readers are going to be affected much more. अब वो हाथ में या थोड़ा सा पास ले जा, 1 मीटर से लेकर तो थोड़ा सा पास ले होगा, कोई दिक्कत नहीं आती. So we have done testing, and we did testing from 1 meter all the way down to about 10 centimeters. So literally एक हाथ की दूरी लेकर के और 1 मीटर की दूरी तक हमने टेस्टिंग की थी. We got a flat performance. So the error rate is absolutely constant in that period. So I don't see any problem. So the error check that we talked about is an integral part of this equation, that we ensure that across a particular distance, which as you are well aware, is 10 centimeters from the tag to about 1 meter from the tag, the error rate is absolutely constant. So it's clear. Koi dikkat nahi. So both these issues are tackled both from the portable reader side as well as on the fixed reader side. The issue is a very sensitive issue. Thank you for asking that question. Good question.
SLR से तो चेंज हो गया ना. जो SLR में पहले पैटर्न था वो ICF वाली वीडियो लगती थी. अब वो बात करें 50 का हुआ है. SLR में जाएगा ऐसे मॉडल होगा. ऐसे मॉडल होगा ना. तो उसके हिसाब से हम स्टेज चेंज करते हैं ना.
I assume that is Sunil Kapoor from RCF talking, but I don't know if that question is for us or it's somebody else. As well as on the reader side, the issue is a very sensitive issue.
सर इसमें स्पीड का कोई प्रॉब्लम, स्पीड से कोई अंतर तो नहीं है?
नहीं, किस चीज का अंतर मुझे समझ में नहीं. कौन बोल रहा है? I can't make out. Sorry. Hello.
Good morning, sir. I have a small question, sir. This is JP Singh. I am one of the faculty in IRMI, sir.
क्या हाल है?
Fine, sir. Thank you, sir. Sir, a small question, sir. Since it is a passive device and only the radio signal is used to read and write the data, how do we?
सर मैं जितेंद्र शर्मा बोल रहा हूँ.
Tempering, sir.
सर इसमें स्पीड का कोई प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं कि स्पीड के डिफरेंस. हेलो सर.
जितेंद्र,
स्पीड में कोई.
Jitendra, jara ruk jao. Jeevanpa is asking, JP Singh is asking a question. Please wait for him and then ask your question. JP, go ahead.
Sir, my question was, since it is a passive device and only radio signals are used to read and write the data, ये इसमें सर, how do we prevent the data tampering if somebody wants to intentionally change the data?
Okay.
Is there any mechanism, sir? That was my question, sir. Thank you, sir.
Again, thank you for that question. It was there in the presentation. Each and every individual tag has its own individual password, which even I do not know. The system automatically is creating the password. I have no method of knowing that password, and it is automatically encrypted for write. I cannot, no write, no update of any kind can be done on the tag. Read is free. Read पे हमने कोई limitation नहीं लगाया है, but write is completely locked. You can't, nobody can walk into it. Even I can't walk into it because even I do not know what's the password on each tag. So each tag has its own individual password, which is fed in blindly automatically by the system. Even I can't touch it. So that's it. So every tag is protected against an accidental write.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thanks. Jitendra Sharma.
Mr. Jitendra Sharma, आप अपना माइक्रोफोन अनम्यूट करके you may repeat your question, please. Mr. Jitendra Sharma, are you there? Sir, I think I don't know. We lost him, perhaps. So, if there are there any other questions? Mr.
Yes, sir. Good morning, sir. This is Kshitij Ansinkar, IRSEME 18 batch.
सर ये पूछ रहा था कि जैसे किसी जिस व्हीकल पर लगा हुआ है ये RFID.
Mr. Jitendra Sharma, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think.
हाँ जितेंद्र, go ahead.
Yes, sir.
Vaishnav, we'll have to wait for a little. हाँ जितेंद्र, चल ले, पूछ ले.
Sir, I think there is some lag on the side of Mr. Jitendra Sharma. He is getting the audio feed at least 30 seconds.
सर ये कह रहा था कि वैगन पर या कोच पर RFID कार्ड लगा हुआ है, उसमें कितनी स्पीड तक ये सेंस करेगा सर?
मैंने एक स्लाइड दिखाई थी जिसमें एक फोटो था 180.
कितनी स्पीड तक सेंस करेगा ये? और
तो मैंने एक फोटो दिखाई थी जिसमें स्पीड था 182.7 182.7 किलोमीटर पर आवर तक तो मैंने टेस्ट किया है.
Okay, Kshitij, you may go ahead with your question. Kshitij.
Good morning, sir. Sir, I wanted to ask from regarding maintenance point of view, sir. If we consider a wagon, it has both bogie and the frame, the superstructure is there, and so in coaches, sir. Sir, like you showed in slide, the trials that you made of putting RFID on bogie was much more successful as compared to one that you put on the superstructure or the on the coach. Sir, so like if we go for maintenance, then the sir, like the final design, if we put it on bogie, then how are we going to ensure that when it is going for IOH, then that like which would be our master data, the coach or the wagon or the bogie? That is my question, sir.
Okay, so there are three parts to your question. A, I did not say that the bogie is more has worked better than the coach. I don't know where you got that impression. I only said that the tag which has been fixed on the bottom of the bogie was fixed using tape, right? So now that was an adhesive based fixation. On the coach body, when we had done the adhesive based fixation, the trial ran for nearly 2 years. And at around 18 months, we started having a spate of failures of the adhesive tape. So then we switched over to single-sided riveting for all rolling stock. So there is only one method of fitment of tags on all rolling stock without exception. On the bogie, because there is no question of chemical cleaning, there is only sandblasting which is being done. So anybody who has been through Jagadhri can tell you, थोक के भाव इन बोगीज को हम लोगों ने सैंड ब्लास्ट किया है. They would have undergone at least 2 full cycles of IOH till now, and some have even undergone POH cycles. There has been absolutely no problem. In one of the earlier slides, I had actually shown the tags having been tested for garnet blasting. Not sand blasting is mild. Garnet blasting is very, very tough, very rough on the surface. It had gone through garnet blasting also. So we are very, very clear that nothing will happen to the tag. You can comfortably use it. And as per our experience, based on field testing, we have already done it through 3 complete sandblasting cycles of IOH or POH. Bogey schedules are the same in either cases. So the coach had gone for IOH and POH, and there has been absolutely no problem with regards to the tag functioning. The tag functions throughout completely. The third part is that which data is going to be treated as master. Will the bogey be treated as master, or will the coach be treated as master? There is no concept of master between a coach and a bogey. The tag on the coach body has information regarding the full coach. So it says POH done on such and such date. As a simple example, you have seen that example. Similarly, the bogey tag would have when was the bogey overhauled. There is no conflict between these 2 things. Right. So as far as I am concerned, there is no concept of master and slave. They both stand on their own merits. And there is absolutely no point I'm not aware of any point in the last 2 years where we have had a conflict situation between the data on the bogey and the data on the tag, on the coach body. None whatsoever.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome.
So, are there any other questions? We can take one final question, perhaps, from our participants.
Devesh here.
क्या हाल है? Nice to see you after a long time.
सर अच्छा हूँ सर. सर हम लोग जब कटनी में थे तो जो भी न्यूली वैगन्स मैन्युफैक्चर होके आ रहे थे उनमें RFID टैग लगा हुआ रहता था. बट वन प्रॉब्लम विच वी वर फेसिंग इज कि कुछ वैगन्स में वो डैमेज मिलते थे, मतलब वो एंटायर केसिंग वाज मिसिंग. तो सर हम लोग उसके लिए क्या प्लान कर रहे हैं सर?
Okay, so this is very similar to the question that Raghu had asked. Whether the tag is damaged or the sole bar is damaged, it doesn't really make too much of a difference. In either case, the tag, naya tag lagana padega. So just the older tag is cut off, a new tag is done. The difference which has happened between then and today is that now, pehle to, and the video that we showed, we showed tag data being entered manually. What has been changed now is that we have connected our system back to back with CMM and FMM. So the master data comes from there. So even if a tag is destroyed, you have to regenerate the tag. For you, you just fit the tag. You have seen the riveting. It takes a couple of seconds, 2 seconds, 3 seconds लगता है. 6 drill कर में 5 minutes लग जाएगा. We're talking about a 10-minute end-to-end exercise. Take that. You have seen the writing of the tag. We've shown you that video. 3 seconds, 4 seconds. मान लो 10-15 seconds. यार 1 minute मान ले यार, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. The data will come from the backend and the tag is updated with the same old data. So the change that has happened is maintaining data at the backend. So that exercise was quite a big exercise which has now been completed. So that now works. So even if we lose a tag, we don't lose the data on the tag, right? Okay. It can be regenerated and the tag can be brought back as new. So that is something which is new. So in that video, you may not have seen that. You don't notice it all that much. But there were actually a line which talks about condemnation of a tag and so on and so forth. That wasn't there earlier. In fact, I didn't talk about the concept of condemnation of a tag because now all of those concepts have also come in. So yeah, good question. Thanks.
Thank
you, Devesh. So I think that brings us to the end of this session, sir, to this wonderful session. And it was a very interactive session, as we have just seen for the last 20 minutes. There have been a lot of questions which have been bombarded at sir, and sir has very beautifully answered each and every query which has been raised. So now, in order to deliver the closing address, I would request respected Dean, sir, SPWMT, sir, Shri Ajay Nandan, to deliver the closing address for this particular session. Sir, over to you, sir.
Thank you, everyone. Pleasure.
Sir, we'll have a closing address by Ajay Nandan, sir.
Good morning.
Yep, I'm here. I just switched off my video.
Yes.
So let Ajay
I thought
his mugshot can come.
I thought we lost you, sir. Okay.
Good morning. Thank you, Tanmay Mehta, sir, for giving this very enlightening lecture on this occasion. And we have our probationers and a lot of about 25-30 people joining online also. And it has been very interesting to have a session where this information about the RFID project, which has been a very, very exciting project for all of us. At least the two of us when we started it in 2015, and it seems some interest this lecture is going to create. The concepts of the am I audible on the system?
मुझे तो सुनाई पड़ रहा है यार.
Yes, sir, absolutely, sir.
Yes, sir.
This has been a very interesting journey for past 5-6 years when we started this project, and I'm glad that today to all the audience you have been able to explain it in very simple terms. I'm very thankful to you for agreeing to my request for taking this lecture on the occasion of IRMI Annual Day Lecture Series, and thank you very much to all the participants who have been listening to this lecture and the probationers who are here in IRMI with us. Thanking you all once again. Thanks, Tanmay Mehta.
Many thanks, guys. Thank you, everyone. Pleasure. It was an absolute pleasure.
Okay, so that brings us to the end of this session. So I request the participants to please log off